Working at Google was a life-changing opportunity, and today I'm going to tell you realistically and exactly how I got a job in tech sales at Google Cloud. This will illuminate what it takes to get a tech sales job at Google or at any top tech company. If you get value out of this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you're committed to hopping on the tech sales wave and riding it to more freedom and fulfillment in your life. All right, let's dive into it. Number one, I had a lot of luck and it was good timing. Let me explain. There needs to be an open role and you need the experience to get a job at Google, period. Google's a very data-driven company and so many people apply, so you need to have the skill set and years of experience required for the role, and you can find that in the job description. And once you make it through the interviews, you're not done. You need board approval still after the interviews, where executives read the notes from those who interviewed you and look at other data points from your resume. I personally had the experience for the role because I worked at Oracle first. Oracle is what I consider to be a launchpad company, because after you work there for a bit, you can use that experience to go to a better company. It's a large software enterprise recognized to have great training, and companies like Google know they are getting pre-trained sales talent. Google's actually an engineering company and not a true sales organization, and they're catching up to AWS and Microsoft Azure, who are 1 and 2 in the cloud respectively. Google Cloud needed and still does need sales talent, and is recruiting from not just Oracle, but Salesforce, SAP, Dell, and other top enterprise companies, all with great sales programs. So if you want to get into Google, you might not get directly into Google as was the case with me, but you can go to a launchpad company that has a great sales program and great training to launch on over to Google long term. For some people, this is actually a strategy I advise. Go to a launchpad company first, get experience, and then go to Google. Also, if you're really committed to working at Google, you might need to have humility to enter at a role that's lower than what you currently want. A lot of times directors go into management roles, and managers might even go into individual contributor roles. I personally wanted a field sales role, and I knew that's what I wanted in my mind, but the recruiter insisted that if that was what I wanted, I should walk away. I ended up putting aside my ego and my desire for the field sales role to work at Google, because that's really where I wanted to be at the time. Number two, if you actually have the skill set and job experience required to the role, and there's an open role of course, match your LinkedIn and resume language and keywords to the keywords of the job description. I actually took the time to tweak the language in my resume and on my LinkedIn to match the job description of the inside sales role I was applying to, and what do you know, Connor, a recruiter from Google, actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. I remember when it happened when I was in Florida having lunch with my girlfriend, my mom, and my sister, and I got that LinkedIn notification and I was ecstatic. Number three, network with as many people at Google as you can, and if you don't know people who are currently there, create warm inroads and send out personalized LinkedIn messages to try and get some time. Get the inside scoop on the culture, the role, and the interview questions. For example, at Google, there are cognitive ability questions, role-related questions, leadership questions, and Googliness questions. Cognitive ability questions test your ability to solve problems and aren't about having the right answer, but showing that you have a thoughtful approach to solving critical issues. For example, a cognitive ability interview question I got that related to sales was, imagine there's a dying newspaper company and you're a private equity firm and buy them out. What do you do? This actually was related to the role because in cloud sales, you're selling digital transformation, and I was able to apply digital transformation concepts to how I would turn around that dying newspaper company as a private equity firm that bought it out. And by talking to people at the company, you can get a sense of the cognitive ability questions they had and avoid curveballs and execute with confidence in the interview. Examples of role-related questions include, imagine you're given a territory with a list of leads. How do you approach the territory? Where do you start? Or how do you juggle your opportunities? Where do you prioritize your time? Or what is the cloud industry? Who are the big players? And what are their differences? Role-related questions test out how you would handle challenges that are typical in the day-to-day, and they test your industry knowledge as well. Leadership and Googliness questions are quite similar, and they basically put you in hypothetical scenarios and ask questions on how you would handle conflict or a difficult teammate, how you handle failure, and things of that nature. Google, of course, wants to bring on leaders and people that are going to be a good culture fit. Tying this back to networking, when you talk to people at Google, at the company you're applying to, you'll get a sense of what these Googliness and leadership questions are likely to be, and you can practice those. This segues nicely into the fourth point. Once you have an idea of the interview questions, practice for a month or more. In my case, I actually practiced the questions for 2 or 3 months, and I really limited distractions. I even broke up with my girlfriend at the time because I was so committed to working at Google and moving from Boston to Austin, Texas. I was able to truly focus, and ultimately, practice is what reduces your nerves and helps increase your chance of being successful in interviews. There is nothing more important than practicing the interview questions. No excuses. The fifth thing I did was write down my why. Why Google and why Austin, Texas, and I visualized what it'd be like to be working at Google in Austin. I read that why Google and why Austin, Texas every day. I ingrained it in my brain, and there is something powerful about that when it comes to manifestation. The way you really manifest things, in my experience, is aligning your conscious brain with your subconscious brain, and the way you do that is feeding the subconscious imagery of what it's going to be like when you realize your dreams. The subconscious loves imagery. So I pictured myself working in the Google office, looking out at the gleaming downtown buildings, and I couldn't help but smile as I visualized that end state. Some of my reasons why Google was because of the opportunity to learn and grow alongside amazing people, because of the benefits, the wonderful culture, and all of the opportunities that it would open up in my life. I reminded myself of these things every day, and it made a huge difference. If you have a vision for your life that's bigger than the life you know today, you're gonna meet resistance because we're wired to resist change and a greater life. That's the way our amygdala, our subconscious brain, actually works. It fears uncertainty around how we'll create the dream and how we'll maintain it. You override that amygdala and that subconscious brain and that resistance by visualizing and telling yourself why and committing to taking powerful yet imperfect action. And that brings me to the sixth thing I started doing when I took action in the interviews. I dealt with my nerves by trusting myself and surrendering outcomes. When you push yourself to dream big, you will experience self-doubt and fear, and that's a good thing. It's an indicator of aspiration and stretching yourself. It's an indication that what you're doing is exactly what you need to do to get to the next level. That's what Google was for me. When I sat there in the Google office on 500 West 2nd Street in Austin, up in that skyrise on the 27th floor, I was so nervous when Blake, my interviewer, came out that I actually peed myself a little bit. That's super embarrassing, and of course my hands were super sweaty. But in spite of how nervous I was, I showed up, and when it comes to our dreams, showing up is what really matters, no matter how we feel. And I let go, I surrendered, and after the nerves settled down, I flowed into the interview process and really shined as the best version of myself. And number 7, when I was in my interviews, I showed an intentional passion that helped me stand out. Showing intentional passion is the result of doing crazy homework on the company, asking great questions. For example, it seems that customers choose Google for X reasons over the competition. What's your perspective? Double-edged questions like this show you did your homework and reflect your credibility, while also inviting the interviewer to participate and give feedback. And by doing that, you actually learn more valuable information you can use in the interview process as you go forward, and you build influence with the person interviewing you. You've got to have an amazing answer to why you for the role and why the company, in this case, why Google. It shows them that, man, Chris isn't here by accident. He means business. I was so passionate in my interviews that they could clearly feel it, and I personally believe my passion helped outshine any imperfections in the interview process, including me talking a little too much. Also, present a 30, 60, 90-day plan to show that you're ready to hit the ground running. Present the plan to your recruiter and have them share it with your hiring manager. The goal here is just to get them to acknowledge it and to ask you, what was this all about? And that's what happened in my interviews with Google, and I was able to tell them this is a sign of how serious I am and how committed I am to come in and make a quick impact at Google. A good 30, 60, 90-day plan is going to show how you're going to start executing in the role by learning, building relationships, developing your cold call scripts, learning the value prop, and starting to prospect. I've got another video that gives a great example of a 30, 60, 90-day plan, so make sure to check it out. The 8th thing I did was I brought my full self to the interview, and I showed my humanity. In interviews with Google and top companies like Google, make sure to show them the amazing person you are. Show them your personality. In my case, I actually spontaneously sang the song Lean on Me. Lean on me when you aren't strong. Okay, that was pretty bad, but it was gutsy. And I even told my interviewer, I'm sorry you had to hear that, in a tongue-in-cheek way. And I asked them, has anyone else sang for you before? And he said, no, but someone did tap dance for me. The things that people will do to get into Google. At the least, by singing, I did something different and it made me memorable. If anything, don't be boring, especially with a company like Google. And number 9, I built a great relationship with my recruiter, Jen, and turned her into my champion. The reality is your recruiter wants you to succeed, they benefit from you getting the role, and they want to be your biggest advocate to help you you get the job and get the pay that you want. I made an effort to really get to know Jen and what made her tick and what she was into, and we really connected over the conversations we had. And unexpectedly, Google hit a hiring freeze after I'd made it through the interviews. And what that meant was there was a delay before Google could offer me the job. And in that purgatory period, having a great relationship with Jen, my recruiter, was critical. I was the squeaky wheel and she had my back. And when new roles opened up and Google came out of the hiring freeze, she made sure I got my foot in the door. Turn your recruiter into your champion to seal the deal, especially for a really competitive company and role like a role at Google Cloud. I hope this video was helpful and shed some light on what it really takes to get a job at Google, specifically Google Cloud and tech sales. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for weekly videos committed to helping you hop on the tech sales wave to ride it to more freedom and fulfillment in your life. Of course, if you want some coaching on how to break into top companies like Google and get into tech sales, email me at chrisbussingchannel@gmail.com. I'm happy to hop on a free strategy call to learn about your vision and share some insights on the industry. To all your success in tech sales and in life, happy selling and happy living. I'll see you in the next one.